Welcome, everybody on the internet, to the Backdrop UX and Design meeting. Uh, our first step in these things is usually to do a quick round of introductions. I'll start. My name is Luke McCormick. I'm a product manager and web consultant in San Ramon, California. And I am looking forward to Backdrop Live, which is tomorrow, and we'll be talking about it a little bit in the course of this meeting. Let me throw it over to Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a backend developer from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm just here to help out with whatever I can. Tim, I guess?
Sure. I can go. I'm Tim Erickson. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. And yes, I've been focused on Backdrop Live the last week. So, and I think we're probably going to focus our meeting on that, our agenda today on that. It looks like Steve is away from his keyboard. If you're around and want to introduce yourself, let us know. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Steve. I'm in the UK. Just getting prepared for Backdrop Live. I don't know who's next.
Jen, are you able or want to introduce yourself? If not, that's okay.
Sure. I'm Jen Lampton, joining from Oakland, California. Very excited about Backdrop Live. Have a terrible headache and trying to get work done. So we'll just be listening today.
Okay. Well, again, normally we have, this would be the week that we deal with UX and design issues. And if anybody, I think we pre-polled the audience here before the meeting started, and nobody had any pressing UX or design issues. I'll give you one more chance to speak up if you do. Barring that, I think we'll just sort of move to talking about Backdrop Live. So I'll pause the appropriate amount of time for objections to be raised. Let's go ahead then. I'll give a quick synopsis of how planning is going from my perspective, which is actually better than usual. I think we're in a pretty good shape. We have, actually, let me look and see what our current, usually on the last day, there's a small flurry of last minute registrations. We were at 49 when I last looked, maybe an hour ago. And we've bumped up to 51. And for me, I think 50 has always been sort of like, I feel really good about reaching 50. We'll have to up our goal in the future. I don't think we passed 50 since the first Backdrop Live, when we had like 65 or 70, I think, registrations. Although I think we had a bunch of people registered for that one to support us that didn't actually participate. So we might have a higher turnout rate from this 50 than we had from the first Backdrop Live. Anyways.
This 50, some of it's been deduped already, right? So I'm not sure if we were doing that before. So
I have deduped. That's not a problem anymore. In the most early days of registration for this Backdrop Live, some people, due to a glitch in the system, are registering twice. And I'm not sure I've got 100. There's a couple of them that could possibly still be duplicates, but I don't, at maximum one or two. And the others have been removed. So our schedule, let's actually open up, maybe I'll screen share. And we actually have, much earlier than usual, a working schedule on the website. And it's, I think, as full as we've ever had it, a full day ahead of, well, it's been this full for several days. And there's only one time slot in the whole thing where we have nothing scheduled, and that's in Block D. And we have one entire block full. I would say that we have enough. We talked about this last week. I would say that we have enough participants and the schedule's full enough that we might want to, that I think we should open a third room for people to, especially maybe in this busy block, like block B for sure, where people, so that people have a place. Well, first of all, I think we'll always have sort of a quiet room, or I won't call it a quiet room, a lounge room, which is less important because we have the hallway, right? So stepping back, the way we're using Zoom is that we have the main room, which will function as either a plenary room or the hallway during when there's more than one session. So if there's more than one session, they'll happen in breakout rooms, and then people can just hang out in the hallway and talk. And we'll try to have somebody in the hallway all the time to sort of greet people and answer questions. I think we should have one sort of lounge room on top of that, that if anybody is like suddenly wants to do something spontaneously, they can say, let's go to the lounge. And that's just available as an empty room. But I would say during block B that we open a third session room that we can actually schedule, that people can schedule topics from during the opening session. If anybody has any feedback on that, let me know. But it seemed to be, people seemed receptive to that idea last week. And, registrations are going fairly well. So I think we can support that in our busy time slots at least. Yeah, that's it. So registrations are in pretty good shape. The website is also, oftentimes this schedule hasn't gotten put up until the morning of Backdrop Live. Jen and I, or mostly Jen, has frantically got the schedule online the morning of. We've had this schedule up a full week now on the website, so people have been able to look at it. I don't have pressing, for me right now, I think the things to do are, well, a little bit of last minute publicity, just social media stuff. Luke, if you can help with that.
Yeah, I'll do all the places where I published last week. I'll do the refresh for the day before on Facebook and LinkedIn.
I actually started working on kind of a welcome to Backdrop Live video, sort of that people could look at, that would cover some of the things that we will cover in our opening session tomorrow. But in case somebody's not at that session, it will sort of talk about how Backdrop Live works. A quick, show them the schedule and show them sort of how we do things. I didn't finish that. I think it would still be, I was hoping to get it done a couple days in advance, which I didn't, but I think it would still be useful to have during Backdrop Live. So I may work on that today. And then, I don't know, just the website is pretty functional. And it's not bad, it's not bad looking, but it's a little bit hacked together. So if there's anything that we need to sort of clean up, or at the last minute for the day of the event, one thing that we have traditionally done is moved the schedule to the front page of the website on the day or during the event. So when you come to this event during Backdrop Live, you will get this schedule in a block, just to make this really obvious. And I expect that I certainly have come to use this schedule during Backdrop Live to sort of remind myself what's coming up. The other big change this year is we got this module working, which should be translating each session's times into your local time zone. I have been asking people to test this. Nobody has had problems with it yet. That doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. Jen has had problems with people using tools like this on other conference websites, and this is basically using is detecting the browser's time zone, and I can definitely see where there are going to be cases where this won't work for some individuals. The question is, how frequently it will be, and whether or not, users pick up on that. They recognize that they're not seeing the right time zone, or if they get confused and miss sessions because of that. Does anybody else have anything that they think we need to that needs to be addressed before Backdrop Live tomorrow, or any questions?
Nope.
I had been tweeting some stuff about unconferences, and Laren had suggested, why don't we get it on the website? I put it on the About page, sort of changed this page a bit, and it includes a link to an article about unconferences that I think is really helpful. It's a short article that really helps, and I put a couple of quotes in here, a little bit of description, and then I changed it from About to Unconference, because I didn't, so that if people do have questions about that, they'd be able to find this page. And the other thing I did, which was one of my hacky things, is added a block. We do, Luke will hopefully appreciate this, because Luke, you have been advocating for a while that we provide some opportunity for people to sort of talk about sessions before or after Backdrop Live. And we could do much better at that, but we do have comments open on all of the sessions.
Sweet.
So anybody who's logged in can comment on a session. Go ahead, Luke.
Oh, I said yay.
Yeah. Okay. And I would love for people to ask some questions ahead of time, sort of get the discussion going, and maybe even use it after Backdrop Live. We've had there are 4 or 5 different people who so far commented on sessions, but I realized that that it wasn't obvious. This capability wasn't really obvious unless you happen to land on a topic or a session that happened to have comments. So I did create a recent comments block, which may not be visible to, I don't know if it's visible to unauthenticated users. I'm going to check that right now.
So I can think of ways to sort of incorporate it just with.
It is. Go ahead.
I think of ways to incorporate the commenting thing into sessions. Maybe I'll try it with the session that I'm moderating, in a sense of perhaps sharing that screen or mentioning it during the session, and encouraging comments and notes. I have a dream that's not going to go for this, but of a meeting app that people would use to, interactively record notes and feelings about stuff. But we can dip a toe in that water and see how far comments gets us with that.
Sure. Yeah, I do think this is just the first step in trying that. It made a lot of sense. I really wanted to enable this because I wanted a way for people to sign up to share their favorite module. We do have this session, and my idea for this session was just to get 5 or 6 different people, 4 to 8 is what I said here, to do a quick lightning talk on a module that they think either that they love or that they think is underappreciated. There are so many really useful modules out there that I just stumble across, don't even know they're there. And this is a chance to share them. And so I thought if we added comments, anybody could say, yeah, they'd like to do, what module they'd like to show. So let this be a pitch for, I think this is the same time as your session, Luke, so you won't be able to participate. But if anybody is able to, wants to share a module, just sign up here. So far, it's just Doc Wilmot and myself have each agreed to do one. I'll try to encourage people during Backdrop Live tomorrow to sign up for that. Anything else? We talked about it a little bit before the meeting. The only thing in the schedule that has me, and I talk about this a lot, a little bit uncomfortable is Block D. As much as I try, I have a really hard time getting folks to so we'll push this, I think, tomorrow during Backdrop Live. We've got at least 10 people. Of our 50 people, at least 10 of them are from time zones when this would be very convenient. And I can think of a couple who I expect to register that haven't yet. But we have sort of a catch-22 in that I think people really don't want to schedule at this time zone because they think if they do, nobody will come. But because we have nothing scheduled, nobody comes. So if we could really get a few things on the schedule here, I think it would build a little momentum towards this time block. So I'll continue to kind of to push that and encourage it. Thanks to Steve. Steve has stepped up and he will be sort of facilitating this block and making sure that the rooms get opened and such. Gregory's a little unsure still about what his situation is going to be. I assume that he will, if he's able, to help out during this time slot, depending on what's going on in his personal life. So he just wasn't ready to make a commitment. Anything else?
Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be available from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m.
I understand that. So we don't have, well, yeah, we do have 2 beginner sessions. We got this sort of backdrop for beginners, which is Sarvashri's sort of specific idea on intro to backdrop. And then we've got Steve's. I love the fact that we have an intro to backdrop in Block D for folks who aren't at the regular time slots. In the past, we've had sort of Jen and like doing intro to backdrop, and I've done like intro to layouts in 2 different backdrop lives. And we don't have those sessions, but we have similar topics, but being done by other people, which is a good thing. Love to see new people taking on the same old topics. Does anybody else have any thoughts or comments about the schedule? Okay, I'm reminded of one other to-do thing that we have. Did I just quit? I think I quit sharing. That's fine. It would be great to get volunteers to help sort of, I'd like a better term, but the safety person or the hall monitor maybe is a good term. I don't know. Is that too have a bad connotations? But somebody to just be in the hallway all day to welcome folks and answer questions, and also to be equipped with co-host or host abilities so that they can help moderate if something. We've never had a problem with this before, but we know people who have been in Zoom sessions that have been, where people have gotten disruptive, and we just want to be prepared and have somebody available at any time to deal with that if it comes up. And what I think we should do is what we tried to do last time is we on our spreadsheet, the original spreadsheet I did for the schedule, we had a little block where people could sign up to basically be the room monitor. Maybe room monitor doesn't sound as bad. And basically then what they're agreeing to do is to just hang out in the hallway during a particular block or a particular session and make sure that, that they're there to answer people's questions, help people out, and deal with any contingencies that come up. I will ping you all or point you all at the sign-up sheet. I got to create a sign-up sheet for that. And then I think we'll just see if we can get some people to sign up overnight. And even at the first session tomorrow, we can solicit volunteers. Does there anything out that I'm forgetting in terms of to-do items?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, is the fact that we don't is the fact that we don't have any pressing concerns a good sign or a bad sign? I'm going to take it as a good sign.
I think it might be a good sign.
I think it's positive.
At least there's no obvious problems that we have to address right now.
Right. Oh, well, I suspect it has to do with the fact that it's our fourth time through this.
Mhm.
So most of us kind of have a pretty good handle on what's going to happen. Also, as I've pointed out, we're ahead of the curve. You know, big kudos to, is it Irina? How does she say her name?
I think it's
Yeah, Irina.
Irina, who jumped in late last week and really kind of fired me up with her enthusiasm because she sort of, I haven't heard from her this week, but for 2 days last week, she was pushing hard and really got me fired up about getting the website, more information on the website, getting that schedule ready so that we could do a better job of sort of promoting Backdrop Live. And it was super, super helpful. So,
yeah, it sounded like she wanted to be able to send
yeah.
links to the schedule to people she works with. So
Yep. So another weakness. Oh, we did talk about the time zone thing. Another sort of a weakness we have in our system, which I think is getting better, is the ability for people to sort of through the website add their own topics or sessions. Jen kind of built the functionality in. The problem is the usability has some weaknesses because so there is a suggested a discussion topic. If you're logged in, you can click on that and, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Well, this is also a general usability issue for Backdrop. So this is dual purposes. Okay. On the schedule, and I'm sharing this because if anybody is either motivated and or has ideas about how to make this better easily, that would be great. If you're well, one, we don't promote this button a lot. There is a link. I guess there's a link in this next steps. There's also a link on the schedule page to suggest a discussion. If you're logged in, now I'm logged in as an admin, so my screen is probably a little different. If you're logged in, you can then create a node for a session. The problem is like scheduling it. We have a time slots thing, which is not really usable right now. It's sort of, you can figure it out, but it's a bit confusing. I wouldn't expect like a complete beginner to figure out how to schedule their session. And even then, there's no, if the slots are taken, this doesn't prevent you from scheduling, which is probably okay, because we could, if somebody scheduled themselves at a busy time, we could either just add a room or encourage them to move it later. It's more important to just get their suggestion. But the other usability problem is that regular users, and it turns out there's an issue in the issue queue, regular users can't publish their thing right away, which may or may not, I don't know if it's maybe better that we have to publish their thing for them. But we don't have a way in Backdrop to give users the ability to publish their own node without giving them the ability to manage all content. Which,
really?
Well, that sounds worse than it is.
That sounds bad.
Yeah, I think it's sort of in between, right? That doesn't mean that they can automatically edit any content because you can give, you can give permissions to edit nodes for specific content types. But there are certain things, I think the things that get included to manage content are things like editing the authoring information, right? If you give them the ability to publish their node, I think you're also giving them the ability to change who the author is and what the date is, and maybe a couple of other things like that, which maybe all you want to give them is just the ability to publish. And that's what you can't do. So
Yeah, I would have thought, well,
go ahead.
Yeah.
There is an open issue on this. It's a feature request in the issue queue. I'll show you quickly. This is less about Backdrop Live now than it is just about Backdrop. If we're looking at the permissions, it's down here under Node, right? In order to give people the ability to publish their own node, you have to give them the ability to administer content, which is more than just the ability.
That also gives them access to the content. Oh no, content overview page is separate. Okay.
Yeah, like viewing.
They used to be the same.
It's not as serious as it sounds like, but it does come with this warning, which right away sort of discourages folks from using it. Plus,
like we need a separate published content.
Yeah, I think so. And there is an open issue for it. I believe there is a contrib module that does this. So, but we don't have that contrib module. So that was a UX issue that we sort of dealt with. So we had one person submit, Irina, submitted her session through the form. No, it wasn't Irina. Well, she might have too, but she had admin access. I had given her that. Diane actually submitted a session through through the UI. Yes, exactly. And she reported being a little bit confused about like what was supposed to happen next, because we don't have good instructions.
Right.
And I went ahead and published her node, I noticed it pretty quickly and published it. So anyways, so that's something that we could improve. I mean, like right now, if somebody wanted to submit a session, I think it would be very confusing for them. In theory, they can do it, but I would be surprised if most people would figure it out. So ideas on how to fix that between now and tomorrow would be great. It would be nice if people could actually be adding to the schedule during the day tomorrow, but I doubt we're going to be able to.
Do all registered users have access to that form?
Any registered user, yes, can create that form right now. I mean, at the very minimum, we just need better sort of help text to guide them along the way. I think that would be the first step to making this better.
Right.
So, but
maybe
go ahead.
I was just going to say maybe like an easier way to see unpublished discussions as well.
So I just went through this on my other events site too.
Sure.
I don't know if any of this is going to be helpful, but what I ended up doing was putting so making sure that every user has access to see their own unpublished content, and then putting a list of their unpublished things on their profile page. And then, I mean, we could put that list anywhere. We like for this site, we could even put it on the top of the schedule and be like pending sessions or something. And then that way they would know. And then that way they'd have the ability to like edit it if they needed to make changes, but at least it wouldn't go into the void. Another thought too, that might be just a super quick fix would just be to add some text on the configure form for that content type. That's like, yes. Hey, you can do your own thing. And then if when they hit save, it doesn't disappear. I think that's probably the biggest.
Right.
Thing. Yeah.
I think Diane did not have the ability to even see her unpublished nodes at the time. I think I added that so that you can now see your own unpublished nodes.
Great.
But at the time you couldn't. So if you submitted a session and hit save, it's like gone, and there's no message saying what's going to happen. You can't go back and edit it, nothing. But
yeah.
Anyways, so it's a little bit better, but it's still, we could make that even better. And if this is something anybody wants to work on in the next 24 hours, feel free. I might take a stab at it, but I'm not sure I'm going to have time. So,
Would this be something where it would be useful to have different forms for different users?
I say more about that. I don't understand.
Or so like, would it be easier if we had different forms for suggest a topic versus I like saying I would like someone to talk about this versus I am willing to talk about this versus the admin interface to go in and edit these things?
Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
I think that would also be really great, like long term, maybe not for this event.
Right.
But if you had the I want to hear about button, then when somebody goes to like create a session, we could say these are the things people want to hear about. And it would also sort of encourage the creation of discussions around topics people had requested. That's a really good idea.
I love that. I haven't quite figured out if it would work, but we also do have a module that might help with the scheduling thing. Indigozilla has this module. What is it called? It's time slots. I've actually done a video on it, but the idea is like you could use it for room reservation. So I think it would work. I think it would work for our use case, but it would, I need to think about it a little bit. I don't know that it's something any of us will get done by tomorrow. Well, it's almost too late for this time, but we might want to look at that module as an option to actually allow people to look at this, basically see the available time slots and pick one. And once they pick it, nobody else can get it. If you haven't seen her module yet, I recommend you take a look. It's a pretty cool module, and she's been working on it actively recently.
Is it the resource time slots?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
I mean, it has broader appeal than just like scheduling sessions, but I think it could work for like renting or checking out a tool. It could work for, I think an ideal use case for it is like room reservations, is if you wanted people to be able to reserve a conference room at a select time, that tool would work great. Yeah, okay, we'll just leave that at that. So, okay. I'm going to stop sharing again because has anybody joined us? Justin has. Let's talk about the opening session a little bit. We talked about it last week, and I'm going to repeat what we talked about last week and see if anybody's had any more thoughts. That my understanding is that what we're going to do is either, well, I don't know if we were clear on this. I think we discussed the possibility of doing around the room, everybody introduce themselves in one big plenary, or maybe doing breakout sessions. And I'm pretty sure we did this once at one of our Backdrop Lives where we can automatically assign, break people into groups of 4 into breakout rooms and ask them to sort of introduce themselves and maybe talk a little bit about what they're here to learn. And if we actually had like 40 people show up for the intro session, that might be preferable to trying to go around the room. If we have 15 people, we could probably just go around the room. But the point was going to be that we would want them to talk about what it is they want to learn and what topics they're interested in, and that we would have kind of a whiteboard and collect all of those topics. And then what I think I've done in the past is just sort of say who wants to nominate a topic, and kind of gotten crickets, right? Nobody is willing to reply to that. But if what we did was asked, what do you want to learn? I think more people would step up and say things because they're not committing to anything, right? They're not. And then if we had we had several things on the board, we could then sort of say, the 3 or 4 people have expressed an interest in this topic. Would somebody be willing to facilitate that? And I think Jen, does this sound right in terms of, if you're able to talk right now, in terms of what we had planned? And does that still sound good? Anybody?
You said my name and I heard it and perked up,
Okay.
but I missed what you said before that.
I was just repeating that what my vision for my understanding for what we decided for this opening session being that we would either in small groups or as a large group brainstorm things that people wanted to learn about, and then sort of actively maybe try to lump them together and or suggest some topics and recruit facilitators.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think we should do that as part of introductions too.
Yes.
So we can say like,
Yes.
who are you and what do you want to know? And then a facilitator, I can do it, or whoever just should write down what they want to know and then be like, hey, it looks like we've got 4 things, and then try and put them on schedule. Yes.
Yeah. The only thing that I said is if we, let's say we have 40 people show up for the opening session, then I think we should do breakouts, like groups of 4 or 5. And then what we should do is just have 10-minute breakouts and ask them to come back and each small group to report on the things that people want to learn.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that works really well, but we need to make sure that if we're gonna do that, we have everybody, like, first thing you do when you break into a group is assign a rapporteur, and that's the person who's gonna do the reporting and then go on, because a lot of people sometimes sit around and then at the end they're like, oh, who's gonna talk? I don't know. And it's just more helpful if we tell them how to do it beforehand, so there's not a lot of mumbling.
So I agree about that. And I want to also encourage folks in this room right now to consider being willing to step up and just say, if we come up with a topic that there seems to be interest in, but maybe it's several people that are beginners that haven't been here before have said they're interested in, and they're not comfortable facilitating, that if one of us would just agree to be a facilitator with the understanding that, we all know that you didn't prepare for this topic. We're just asking for you to open the room, hold the space, and sort of get things going. And just think about that, and ideally be sort of ready to help do that if you feel comfortable. I think what I wouldn't mind talking about really briefly on that topic is how to schedule them, because the dilemma we're going to have is that the open slots are the least convenient time slots. Well, I think we already talked about opening another room. So, like, where do we try to put these new topics if they come up? I'm going to share my screen one more time and go back to the schedule, because like the reason this block is full is because it's a time slot when a lot of people are available. So it would be good to put topics in this time slot. But I don't know. But we also have like empty time slots on Saturday. And so do we try to fill up block F first? And this one's almost, did somebody add something here? Nope.
We might be at a point where we should open up a third room, because we have a lot of people who've registered, which is fantastic. And I don't want people to be like, oh, I can't make it at 2 a.m., so I'm not going to submit an idea.
Right.
And so in terms of scheduling during the introductory meeting, I think, if we can find a facilitator and find a time that works for them, even if that set area is full, we should try and accommodate. Unless we need like 4 or 5 rooms, that might be overkill. Sure. But even if it's a third, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I imagine there will probably be people who can't make that opening session, and those are the people whose the times that are thinnest or best for them, and that's going to be a little hard to handle too. But the way this event usually works is that once we get started, new ideas come up too, and hopefully we can continue to fill some of the more empty slots that way.
Okay. I pretty much agree with all of that, including opening another room. The reason I asked the question, though, is even if we open up another room, like so we go to schedule that first session and we've got an extra room here. So do we just right away go to this extra session in this block, even though we have other blocks that, are like really empty? Or do we, sort of try to fill up some of those slots before we start going to the third room? And maybe it just depends on who agrees to be the facilitator. Do we let them? Okay.
Yeah.
So the working hypothesis is that we get a facilitator and maybe let them pick the time slot. Okay. And that we would have an extra block available here. So, the other thing is that I expect we're going to have, 3 times the number of people in block B that we will have certainly in block B and E are probably the most popular. We can just see that from, when people wanting to schedule their blocks in those sessions. Okay. Well, I feel a little better about that. Is there... I'm going to mention one other thing, and then we'll close this up. On Twitter, I have suggested, I think more than once, like if somebody wanted to step up and do a social event, like a virtual board game event, I just never have the energy to say, I'll be the one to facilitate that. I think we have a handful. It would be fun to have some social event, either between blocks or at the end of the day on Saturday. And I think that could come together pretty spontaneously if anybody feels motivated. I actually pinged David Needham, for those of you in the group who know David, because he likes to do stuff like that and is friends with some of us, but he's not available.
I would be happy to facilitate that on Saturday after the closing session. I thought maybe we'd wanted to do it Friday night, and I don't think I can do it Friday night, but I can definitely do it for Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that we doing it on Friday night would also be okay, but I don't think it's necessary, and I think we should do it whenever we can. So if Saturday, and the problem with Friday night is it's between existing blocks, and it might just feel too squashed. Whereas at the end of it, it's just people are more relaxed. They maybe don't need that break as much.
Yeah.
The other thing, so the closest, the best unconference I've seen in the Drupal sphere, at least from a planning perspective, is MidCamp. And they had some really interesting things scheduled, like they had a session that was kind of like go for a walk with your phone in Zoom and show us your neighborhood or something. And it was like a really low-key thing. And I love the idea. I have no idea if it worked because I didn't go. But I would have liked to have went. And the idea is intriguing to me, just to do a session where people just go outside and take their phone with them and talk about, where they're at and stuff. It's just sort of a chance to get to know each other. And that could be kind of a between blocks social thing, or it could be fit right into the regular schedule. And I would encourage, I don't know that we're going to make that happen this time, but I would encourage people to think creatively about, that kind of thing. If you have an idea like that, put it on the schedule or talk to Jen or I about figuring something out. Okay, it's technically time for the next meeting. Let's wrap this one up. Any last minute questions or?
Nope.
Okay. I do feel really good about this Backdrop Live. Okay, I'm gonna bye everybody. The dev meeting will start